very special guest on Delhi Dialogue, Mr. Kapil Sibal, joins us live here on ET Now. Thanks a lot for being with us. You through with your campaign, but it's really full throttle. You've been briefing at the AICC. I want to start with the question that's plaguing a lot of congressmen and otherwise. I know you're dismissive of opinion polls. They got it wrong in 2004, they got it wrong in 2009. Given the margin of error even then, how grossly wrong can they be this time around?
Well, I don't know, because there was a sting operation with respect to opinion polls itself.
Right.
And that sting operation itself indicated that all of these are being hiked up. And I mentioned, I think a few weeks ago, that today it is 200, tomorrow it will be 225, then it will be 275, then it will be 300. And all my predictions are coming out to be true, because it's very unfortunate. It's most unfortunate that that this kind of thing is being done in the midst of an election. There is a TV channel which put out an opinion poll which was really in the nature of an exit poll.
That's right.
And then the EC itself got on to the act. So I'm afraid money power has really played a very significant role in this election.
Mr. Sibal, you're a very candid minister. You've also been a very candid congressman, and which is why I'll ask you this question. A lot of Congress sympathizers believe that the party has got its mojo back only now. Shouldn't you have been more aggressive? Shouldn't you have been more attacking in the first phase itself?
I've always said that. I've always said that. I have said it not just now, I said it for many years ago, that we need to expose the lies of Narendra Modi. We need to expose what the reality of Gujarat is, what he has done in Gujarat is in respect of tribals, in respect of poor people. Poverty numbers have increased. In fact, poverty has gone up during his tenure. Growth has come down. If you really look at the tenure of Gujarat chief ministers, 1980 to 1990, 1990 to 2000,
right,
the rate of growth was much higher than it is today. In fact, it has come down. Poverty has increased, the rate of growth has come down.
Then why
and yet those numbers are being touted, and 24/7 the channels are regurgitating those numbers.
In hindsight, do you believe you should have been far more aggressive in the campaign to begin with?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
And because we're talking about aggression, I'm going to ask you this question about Priyanka Gandhi. She offered a strong defense for Robert Vadra yesterday. Many people believe that can soften hearts, can that really shake off the taint image? One doesn't know. The question that one would want to ask you is that despite a strong defense, can Robert Vadra cease to be an embarrassment for the party and the family?
Why do you say all that? I mean, the point is, if somebody tells lies constantly, this has been happening by Narendra Modi. He told lies about Gujarat. He continues to tell lies about Gujarat. And you people are buying it. Basically, this is exactly what is happening in Robert Vadra's case, and Priyanka has rightly defended him.
But do you think her defense can take the taint off, or the campaign off him?
Well, the campaign of lies and continuous lies does have an effect, but the fact is the truth can never be hidden.
You know, this election campaign started off on the whole development plank. It started on the anti-corruption plank. It's become very, very personal. The BJP seems to be attacking only Robert Vadra right now because perhaps he's the weak link. Is he the reason why Priyanka is not contesting polls?
Well, why do you ask me these questions when I have no knowledge about this? Why somebody is not contesting or contesting? She has already made a statement on that. You shouldn't be asking me that question when she herself has made that statement.
By making that statement, has she told the ranks and files of the party that you do not need to be defensive about Robert Vadra?
Why should anybody be defensive about anything? We've done yeoman work during the last 10 years.
If you point out fingers at Mr. Modi for his links with Adani, shouldn't the Congress come clean on Robert Vadra's links with the DLF?
What do you mean by come clean? I mean, nobody has offered land to this is not a government organization. One second.
Right.
You're talking about the state. We're talking about state action. If the state gives land to Adani, it's different from a contract between two private parties. It has nothing to do with the state.
Are you here suggesting that Robert Vadra is a purely private individual?
I am not suggesting anything. You gave an example of Gujarat and Robert Vadra.
Because the allegation
One second. You gave an example. This is not state action. If it were state action, maybe, one would have looked at it differently. This is action between two private individuals, contracts between two private individuals. I can enter into a contract with you as long as I'm not a minister. Supposing I were to be back in practice and I have a contract with you and I profit from it. How can you blame me?
But sir, the difference here is that A, he has links to the first family of the Congress party, and B, his fortunes have gone up many-fold, and that
People's
is really
fortunes, Adani's fortunes have gone up 10-fold, 100-fold.
But that's
so
exactly
therefore he should
the
be put in prison. He should be investigated because this is state action. Lots of people in the private sector, fortunes have gone up, so everybody should be investigated. Look at the private sector, look at telecom, look at IT. Look at several other sectors of the economy, health sector. Fortunes have gone up many-fold in the last several years. So everybody should be investigated.
Do you as a congressman fear that if Modi comes to power, there will be a witch hunt of sorts against Robert Vadra?
I don't care. I don't care. We'll fight. Why should, first of all, Modi will not come to power. Two, if Modi does come to power, which I doubt very much, you think that we are sort of, we people don't have the wherewithal to fight injustice? We have.
I'm sure you have, and they have able lawyers like yourselves in that camp. But I'll tell you why am I asking this question. Uma Bharti has on many occasions now said that she is going to send Robert Vadra to jail. Now, of course, she doesn't have the wherewithal to. She's not a minister. She's not the judiciary. But she keeps saying that, which is why there is this fear of sorts that will they be
There is no fear. Why should anybody fear? Because the truth is on our side. Why should we fear anything?
Mr. Sibal, you've worn many hats in the past few years. You've been a minister who's really bailed out the telecom sector. You've been one of the chief spokespersons of the party. You've been a parliamentarian. You're the law minister. I will ask you this question as a congressman right now. Are the fortunes of the party absolutely tied to the family? They almost sink and swim together.
The Congress party is based on ideology. The family is central because the family is the one that epitomizes that ideology. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if the Akali, you don't talk about Akali Dal like that, you don't talk about Jayalalitha like that, you don't talk about Shiv Sena like that, you don't talk about Mulayam like that.
Perhaps when because you only talk about pockets.
That's not the point. As if we've committed a grave crime by having the Gandhi family at the forefront. We're proud of that fact.
I'll ask you one last question on Priyanka before I move to Rahul Gandhi and the Prime Minister. She's a charismatic campaigner, there's no denying that. Your ranks and files have wanted her to be more out of Raebareli and Amethi. That call has been taken that she will still be confined to that. Many people believe in the background she's working. Is she being denied a bigger role because she can eclipse Rahul?
Don't ask me these questions. Because
Would you as a congressperson want Priyanka Gandhi to...
Don't ask me these questions. This is a family matter. This is a matter for Priyanka as an individual to decide, not for me to give...
As a congressman, would you want her to...
Again, I said, this is a matter. If somebody says, you ask somebody else, should Sibal contest again from Chandni Chowk? It's my decision. And then the party's decision. So it's Priyanka's decision and then the party's decision.
Let's move away from Priyanka Gandhi on to Rahul Gandhi. In an interview yesterday, he said that he's 103% ready to be Prime Minister. Not 99%, but absolutely certain. If Congress comes to power, he will not shy away from that responsibility. In hindsight, do you think he should have got a role in the government? He should have taken up a role in the government.
That's for him to decide, and that's for the Prime Minister of India to decide. It's not for me to comment on these things.
But do you think somebody can hit the ground running without having experience in the government?
Rajiv Gandhi had experience. He proved to be a great Prime Minister. Nothing wrong. Mrs. Gandhi had very little experience. She proved to be one of the best Prime Ministers in this country.
Rahul Gandhi has also gone on to say that his government will be very radical in a lot of ways. It will be open, the voices of the people will be heard in corridors of power. What sort of radical government should we expect from the Congress?
At least we will not only have the voice of Narendra Modi, on media channels, lambasting, A, B or C. We want the multiplicity of voices, which is the essence of democracy, to be heard. Not one voice, one man, one agenda.
Mr. Sibal, a lot of people are wondering where is the Prime Minister? He isn't addressing rallies. He's very, very silent.
He is going to address rallies. He's planning to go to Punjab. I'm also given to understand he's planning to go to Tamil Nadu. I'm not too sure. That's their program. That's the party decides. It's not for me to comment on that.
In 2014, has Manmohan Singh become a liability for the Congress?
Of course not. Why is he a liability? I think he's done a great job as Prime Minister. And despite whatever, and history will prove me to be right, prove him to be right. History will judge him differently.
I'll ask you this question first on what happened in your tenure, in your government's tenure, and then come back to the Prime Minister. In hindsight, did your government grossly underestimate the impact of the 2G scam?
Now, what's the impact of the 2G scam? Just because
it was actually that one discourse that stalled investments, that vitiated investor climate. It became so vitriolic after that.
No, that's because of the fact that the CAG report talked about.
I'll come on CAG, but in hindsight, do you agree that you underestimated?
What is the scam? I want to know. What is the scam?
The said scam.
No, what is the scam? One second. What is the scam? Have you ever calculated the benefit?
I'm on your side on that. That there was no scam. I'm on your side on that. That Spectrum auctions 2 rounds after that proved that there were no takers. The question that I'm asking you is that did your government fail to come up with a very aggressive response to CAG?
Well, we gave an aggressive response. I was giving that response all the time. But the channels were against. The channels were against us. 24/7 was against us. 24/7 was highlighting what the CAG said. He didn't talk about loss, he talked about presumptive loss. But you were telling the nation as if this nation has lost 1,76,000 crores. I don't understand from where.
While the CAG is to be blamed for tom-tomming that headline figure, and media must take a part of the blame as well. The question, I'm going to come back to this aggressively. Perhaps you were the only lone voice that was saying that, you were the one who actually said that you talked about the zero loss theory. The question is...
No, I never... So one second.
Yes.
Again, you're repeating something I never said. I merely said that the policy of the government was not to auction. So where is then the question of loss?
Fair enough.
The policy of government was not to auction.
What I'm essentially saying is...
Now, that doesn't mean if we had auctioned, government would not have got revenue. It would have got revenue. But that was not the policy of government. But the fact that the government wantonly decided that no, we will continue with the old policy, we will not auction, doesn't mean that we caused a loss. The policy may be right, the policy may be wrong, but the fact of the matter is, what was the consequence of that? Look at the number of millions of people who benefited from it. In a balance sheet, you only calculate loss if you tabulate the earnings.
That's right.
Have you ever tabulated the earnings in the telecom sector? The benefits to the people, the social benefits, the economic benefits. Once you calculate that, and then you calculate the possible loss of revenue in the absence of not auctioning, then only will you come to a figure of loss. But nobody talks like this. Economists, academicians, not me, not congressmen, have said that this is all bunkum, this story about this theory.
No, I buy your point. I mean, I covered telecom then, and so I know that there was no policy, you couldn't have auctioned. The question that one would want to ask you is that you were perhaps the only one giving this very aggressive campaign against the CAG. So, shouldn't the government be blamed as much as the CAG for this misconception?
No, I don't know. I think the government should have, without any doubt. We should have defended our position far more strongly, and than we did. Well, I mean, there are things that has happened in governments, in the life of governments. In retrospect, you can say A, B, or C, but we were hoping that other institutions which were dealing with these matters would take a more circumspect view about the matter.
They perhaps did not, because your tenure...
We were hoping that to happen.
Yes. UPA
perhaps that's the reason why our ministers were not unduly aggressive on the issue.
UPA 2's tenure has also been marked with a lot of institutional activism, be it CBI or the CAG or the judicial overreach. We saw a lot of that happen in the last 5 years. What would you attribute this to?
The media.
Not the weak Prime Minister?
No,
do you think this could have happened against the Prime Ministership?
If the media keeps on tom-tomming,
are you giving the media far too much importance?
I'm not blaming anybody.
I'm saying, are you giving them far too much importance?
No, it is. They are the messengers. If I talk positive about this government and they do not reflect it on the channels, and they don't do it 24/7, and they only talk about the negative propaganda that's going on, naturally people will buy it. And that's exactly what's happening. People don't know the issues. And it's not, I cannot explain those issues, and the government cannot explain those issues except through the media. And if the media doesn't carry the message, then obviously how do we reach the people? That's the only way we can reach people.
Could these institutions dare to have crossed the Lakshman Rekha under a Narendra Modi or a Sonia Gandhi?
No, I would say under Narendra Modi, and under Narendra, they dare not. In Gujarat, they dare not. Everything is captured.
So are you saying it was the weak Prime Minister, and because of...
Nothing to do with the weak Prime Minister. It was a democratic government which allowed the course of events to take place in the hope that institutions will be circumspect and that justice will ultimately prevail. Unfortunately, the reach of the media and the negativity and the negative environment created because of the 24/7 propaganda got the better of the day.
So I know you to be far more candid in my past experiences and interviews with me to admit that it can't be the media that has resulted in this Lakshman Rekha being breached. It has to be the lack of absolute political strong will at the top.
Our Prime Minister is, you see, if you look at the personality of the Prime Minister, he is not given to the kind of aggression that you are talking about. So you do not expect from a Prime Minister who is a true gentleman to talk on the same terms as Narendra Modi. And if you attribute that quality to him, then he would not be Dr. Manmohan Singh. So you're expecting something from a man whose personality is quite different from your expectations.
At one level...
And then you cannot then blame him for what he is not. You are now trying to attribute blame to a personality to do something that his personality doesn't allow him to do.
I get his personality is very different from Narendra Modi's, but at one level, do you think the Prime Minister needs to be far more strong?
Again, what does
far more aggressive?
Well, I don't know what strength means. If strength means shutting the hopes and aspirations of millions of people in Gujarat, if strong means destroying the institutional structure, if strong means not having the assembly meet for a few days in a year, if strong means that destroying making sure that the voice of the opposition is not heard, if strong means that you don't place reports on the floor of the House, if strong means that you take over the media, you buy up the media, then I would not like a strong Prime Minister of that kind.
But strong also means that if I'm the head of the government and if my ministers are being attacked and if there is something happening right under my nose, I really take charge. I call the shots. I don't let negative narrative disseminate.
No, but that negative, we are expecting institutions to act, act reasonably and fairly. And when institutions are not willing, and you see the media after the communications revolution has got new freedoms. Those freedoms can be used and can be misused, right? And we will protect those freedoms till as long as we are a democratic country, and I will be the first one to protect them. But I think it's time for the media also to realize that freedom doesn't mean license to abuse. Freedom doesn't mean license to allow lies to percolate into the minds of people. And I think that's something that the institution itself has to decide. This is not about this government.
Sure.
This is going to be about all subsequent governments as well. And if you have strong prime ministers, quote unquote, which muzzle the media, then you will see the impact of it.
I'm going to talk to you about UPA 2. In hindsight, there's never benefit of hindsight when things are happening. But in hindsight, what has been the biggest blunder of UPA 2? Letting A. Raja continue, the price rise, downplaying the Anna movement?
No. I thought, in retrospect, you can talk about doing things differently. But the fact is that this government has been the most open and democratic government in the history of India. That's a fact. We have not allowed our egos, we have not allowed arrogance, we have talked to civil society. We were hoping that something constructive will emerge. But we had, on the other side, people who only believed in destruction, right? And you've seen the conduct of the Aam Aadmi Party, right? You hurl abuse, you tell lies, and we've seen this.
It's hit and run.
Yeah, it is the same thing with Modi. And he talks one thing, he allows Subramaniam Swamy to come into the BJP. And this very Subramaniam Swamy said Hindus should go to America, to Pakistan, should be thrown out to Pakistan. An FIR has been lodged, case is pending against him. He allows his entry. He will talk about, he will mollify and talk moderate language when Giriraj talks extremist language. When some of his other people say that, Muslims should be disenfranchised, right? They should be sent to Pakistan. He will talk moderate language. But he will not do anything against them. So he'll allow the party to be extremist and the rank and file to be extremist and try to put up a mod. This is their character. That they will polarize the polity and yet suggest that they are moderates. Whereas in fact their conduct in the past has shown what they are. Their true colors are yet to be seen. I
was actually going to ask you this question, that this whole election campaign started on the anti-corruption, pro-development, pro-growth plank. It's really gone down to the pet issues of religion, pet issues of caste.
This is bound to happen. You have Amit Shah is accused in a triple murder. He's heading the campaign in UP. What has the media said about him? Nothing. If something like that were to happen in the Congress party, you wouldn't have heard the end of it till somebody resigned. You are talking about Vadra. What about Vadra has committed no crime? Here's a man who is charged by the CBI for a triple murder. And in an Ishrat Jahan case, he's been given notice by the court. And he heads our campaign. And there are ministers in his government, in Modi's government, who have been convicted for 3 years, who are sitting in the cabinet. What has the media done about it?
Do you not take some part of the blame? Has the Congress not wooed Muslims?
There's no question of wooed Muslims.
This whole appeasement politics
what is the
started by the Congress.
I want to know what's the appeasement. What is the appeasement?
What is the
I want to know. When we talk about Dalit reservation, and we talked about reservation in government jobs, we talk about reservation in promotions, it's not appeasement of the Dalits. You call it appeasement? When a mother looks after her challenged child, is it appeasement of the child? I want to know, because the mother will always protect the weaker amongst the lot of children that she has. This is a family. India is a family. And the weakest part of that family are the Dalits, the Muslims, the backward community. Anything that we do for them is not appeasement. It is protecting the weak.
But that is perhaps what enrages the majority community.
Why should they enrage? I mean, then the people should be enraged against the mother who protects, who does not do anything for the strong child.
I will perhaps I'll have a weak answer to that analogy, because a mother and a child is a very different relationship.
Why is it different? I disagree with you.
Why do you disagree?
This is a family. India is a family. We have to protect everyone.
When you attack Modi for being majoritarian, the attack from the other camp says that
I don't attack Modi for being majoritarian at all. I attack Modi for being divisive. No. He's destroying the calm and peace in this family. He's being divisive. And he's being intentionally divisive because he wants to win an election.
Talking about elections, what is your
reading? What has he done for those Muslims in Gujarat? He's never even looked at them.
When he was asked this question about reaching out to the Muslim community, he said, I'm reaching out to Indians. He wants to do away with this.
No, that's fine. But what about those people who were the victims of the riots? They are individuals too. They are not individuals. Why did he not reach out to those individuals? Let me answer Modi this. If he's talking about why did he not reach out to those individuals? Forget that they were Muslims.
When you talk about 2002, they come back with 1984.
Forget about that. They must answer that. Modi must answer that question. And he will have to answer it. If not now, tomorrow. If not tomorrow, day after.
We all thought he'd answer it in this election campaign. He hasn't.
He hasn't. He will never. He will never.
We are now moving closer to May 16. A lot of observers outside of electoral politics believe that if BJP doesn't get the numbers that it claims it will...
it will not.
It won't?
No way.
Are you willing to put your neck out?
Modi will never be Prime Minister.
I was going to ask you this question.
I'm telling you now. You don't have to ask. Something tells me. My conscience tells me that the conscience of India will not allow him to be the Prime Minister.
If he is not Prime Minister, who could be the consensus candidate for the NDA?
I don't even know whether the NDA will come to power.
If they were to come to power?
I don't know. I'm not here to prognosticate or to suggest who shall be. It's for them to decide. Okay,
I'm going to move away from all of that and talk about just two very quick questions in your capacity as Minister. The first is that the Supreme Court has finally allowed the CAG to audit telecom companies. Isn't that absolute overreach of CAG once again?
Telecom I do not normally comment, because being the law minister, I do not normally comment on Supreme Court orders. But let me say, time will tell whether this order was right or wrong.
But isn't it unfair at one level? I'm just being the devil's advocate. Here are private companies. They get into a business that was first dominated by the government. Now you tell them that your books of accounts will be opened up to the national auditor.
This should be true of hospitals. This should be true of educational institutions which get land. This should be true of all private sector business which gets land at concessional rates. It should be true of all private sector business activity if this logic were to be taken forward.
All right. Before I let you go, I have a final question to ask you. I'm also speaking to an author, a poet. Any recent lines that you've written on Mr. Modi or the poll campaign that you'd like to recite for our viewers here? Anything that comes to mind?
खुदा के बंदे संभल जा, वक्त है अब भी बदल जा, मत कर एक दूजे पे हमला, कुछ ही दिनों का है जुमला, शहंशाही की आदत भुला के, नफरत के बीच दफना के, इंसान बन के दिखा दे.
Thanks a lot for talking to us, sir. We do hope India does find reason and peace together. Thank you very much.
Thank you.